All right, making her debut here on Chelsea Mic'd Up is Krieger. Allie's won the World Cup with the U.S. women's national team twice and currently plays for the Orlando Pride in the NWSL. But most importantly to us, she's a true blue. We'll get to hear her Chelsea fan origin story in a second. Allie, thank you so much for joining us. Wanted to start with what's been an incredible few months for the Women's Super League in England. So many of your American teammates went over there and are making huge contributions. How much have you been following Chelsea and your teammates in this league right now?
Yeah, thanks for asking that and like supporting the women's game especially in England. I think this has been such an incredible year watching a lot of our players also join the league and see how many people are supporting it. And that's the only way the women's game is going to grow, is if we have people interested, we have more money, sponsors on TV. I turn on NBC Sports in the morning at 9:30, like on Saturdays, and I'm watching, two of my teammates or, 4 of my teammates, Sam and Rose, and then you have Press and Tobin playing. It's incredible. I think it's like so exciting to watch them on TV on my Saturday after I train. I'm just like, this is so cool. And because I'm preparing normally just for the EPL, watching the men's game, but it's awesome that they're allowing that to be on NBC, and NBC Sports is supporting the women's game. And this is what we need. And you can see the game growing and people are having so much more interest and they're putting more money into it because it is good football. And obviously you can't compare it to the men's. It's just a different game, but it's been exciting. I love watching the games. I'm like, I wish I was 26 again where I could go back. I could go and sign for Chelsea, but it's just awesome to see. And I'm so pumped for the girls.
Allie, I'm sure there was a lot of banter during your training for the World Cups before the Women's Super League really blew up and you all had your club teams. And now teammates that you played with and won World Cups with are now playing for rival teams. So how do you reconcile your friendships with these teammates? The fact that you still want good things for Chelsea.
I know, and then some of them support other men's teams that they're not necessarily playing for that specific club. Tobin Heath, who supports Arsenal, and I'm like, how dare you sign for Manchester United? Like, I don't even know how you can do that. But no, like in all seriousness, it's been amazing. We do have that banter, like whenever we're in camps and it falls on a weekend where we're watching the EPL, we're all either in the same room watching or they'll turn it on in the meeting room and we all go down with our coffee and just like chill. And, we're all talking about it at the breakfast table. And it's just like, I don't know, it's exciting. It keeps us like this little fun rivalry going. But yeah, it's all in all, it's great for our game. It's great for our team. It's great for them as individual players, and they deserve every success that they're having right now.
And probably the most exciting development is the fact that it's not, as you mentioned, kind of sponsors and these leagues, but clubs the size of Chelsea taking an interest in the women's game. The most expensive transfer in the history of the women's game with Pernilla Harder coming in, that the biggest clubs are taking this seriously and they have the financial might to kind of do whatever they want.
Absolutely. And it just puts us to shame a little bit because I'm like, does anybody want to come to Orlando? We have like just a little bit of money, but it'll eventually get there. But that is how you attract good players. And she's one, if not, one of the best, if not the best player in the world. I mean, she's incredible and she's one of the best forwards in the world, and they are just stacked. And it's about the money and it's about how you're making your players happy and what you can do within the club to say, how am I going to keep these players here? How are we going to get the best players in the world? And how are we going to make this club attractive? And you know what? Money talks. And if you're willing to pay for these players and what they deserve, then you're going to get the success and you're going to get that culture and that environment that you want to create to be, a winning team and a winning club. So obviously the NWSL is learning from that and seeing that model. Like, listen, we got to get more money. We got to get, more attraction for these best players in the world to be able to come and play in our league to make that the best league in the world. So it's going to be a process. It's obviously growing every single year. So I hope to get there where we can have those incredible players in our league as well. So it's exciting to see, and it's a great starting point.
Should I be a little worried, though, as a U.S. team supporter? Because I was kind of getting the feeling, seeing all these resources pump into France and now England, that, wow, their training sites are better. The pay is getting better. They have such brand recognition. They're going to have merchandise money. I think Alex Morgan sold buku jersey sales over there. I was starting to get worried that, look, Title IX here in this country was a lot further along, and the women's program really succeeded because of it. But now the playing field is starting to get a little bit more level? Should I be concerned about the dominance that the U.S. women's national team's been having?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've had to work our butts off in order to get what we deserve. And that's just our mentality. We're like, okay, well, we got to go to this World Cup. We have to win because we're not going to get if we don't. So we got to like roll our sleeves up. We got to show up. We got to crush these teams. We got to dominate this tournament. We got to win gold, because that is the only way that our federation is going to see that we actually deserve more. And so that has been our mentality since day one. And so that's the continued fight. And, you can see that we're kind of, inching and chipping away at it. We're inching forward, but we always have that mentality that we have to be successful. We have to win, because on that platform, on the biggest stage, that's when people listen, and that's when people watch and they see us succeed. They see what we're capable of. And that's when we create change. So we're like, listen, when we step in this tournament, there's nothing else that we can do but win. Like, that's it. That's the standard.
And it's fascinating that you bring that up, because we had Emma Hayes on the podcast, who's the manager of the Chelsea women's team, and she was saying that not only do American players bring this to the teams that she's been in, but having coached in America herself, that mentality was kind of transferred to her. Is this kind of like America's export in the women's game? Is that mentality?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, because I get this a lot since playing in Europe for FSC Frankfurt, for 5.5 years, from 2007 to 2012, right when, we didn't have a league, and I went over there and I was just like, what am I getting myself into? But like, this is it. That is what was one of the biggest differences, is the mentality. As American players, we have this mentality that even if we're down a goal, like, it doesn't matter. We know we're going to win. Like, we just have that. We're like, all right, cool. Like, they scored, but like, so be it. We're going to go back and like crush them. It's different in Europe, where you have this, like, if you go down a goal, they automatically, I just had this experience within my team. It's just like everyone shuts down and they're like, oh God, like, how are we going to come back? Like, what are we going to, it's like, I don't know. You just have this drive, this feeling inside, this confidence that we walk out there and we're like, I trust my teammate. I know, like, she's going to do her absolute best. We're going to share the ball. We're going to make each other look good. And that's just the way it's going to be. And we're going to just support each other, and we're going to crush this team. Like, that is just our mentality. Like, we know when we step out on the field, we're going to win. Because I like look around and I'm like, I'm playing with the best players in the world.
Well, it's no question why you guys, you personally, you won 2 World Cups. And I always kind of assumed that was a mentality, and I've seen the interviews, but you guys live and breathe this, where I'm watching the growth and development over in the domestic leagues over in Europe, like, oh no, it's going to be tougher the next World Cup around. I still feel like we have this edge when it comes to mentality, because you guys are all in, like, the game rests on our success here because this is the biggest platform. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I also feel like mentality is the one thing you can control during a game. Their personnel, their formation, like, none of that you can control. So you have to go out and you have to have that mentality that's going to be 1 or 2 steps above like whatever they're going to bring. So it's like, well, we can't control whatever they're doing, but like, we can control us and how we're going to approach this game. And that's the biggest difference between us and every other team in the world.
Well, let's go into your story as a Chelsea supporter, because I feel like if the timeline were a little bit different, maybe the jersey you'd be wearing right now would be that of your own off the training ground and not of Christian Pulisic. How'd you come to be a Chelsea supporter? Because you're not some glory hunter.
No, and it's funny because I always tell the story. I feel like I'm not just like a bandwagon fan. I feel like it goes way back when I was 16. It was in about 2000. It was my first trip, my first flight out of the country. We won the regional tournament. My club team was named Prince William Sparklers. And we were 16, 17 years old. And the winning team got a free trip to England, to London, to play and train with the Chelsea youth coaches for 9 days. It was in this certain program that they had. They don't have it anymore, but back in 2000 they did. And it was kind of the first year that they did this. So my team, we were so happy to go. Like, we got invited and we stayed on this campus near the grounds, and we trained with the youth coaches, and we had like a 9-day camp. We went to a game, and it was incredible. We got to watch the men train, and it was just at 16, I didn't even realize like what I was really watching and getting myself into at that time. You don't, as an American young girl, you don't really watch the EPL. it wasn't as popular maybe as when I was growing up. And so I kind of was made aware of them at that point. Went to the fan shop. We had this whole experience around Chelsea FC. So, and kind of you felt like you were a part of the club. You were a part of their family now. And so I think all of us went back and we had this whole new perspective of football and what we wanted to achieve and all the success. And they really inspired us to want to be better. So I loved them ever since then. So it's been since 2000.
Well, you got on at a great time, because after that, shortly thereafter, it was a rocket ship and you start collecting trophies, and I'm sure it just fortifies your fandom.
Yeah, it was great. It was incredible. So yeah, I'm not just kind of like a one-time randomly, oh, I'm just going to pick them because I like their colors. It was actually, I have an attachment there.
Well, I kind of picked them because I like their colors, and they were on TV. I mean, I love Drogba, and there were like 3 teams on TV that I could follow. Yeah, but now there's an American, and a lot of fans are gravitating towards Chelsea, and they're becoming this mega club here in the U.S. If you see jersey sales sold here, Christian Pulisic is one of the biggest stars in the country because he's recognized by many people as the best player. So now, how has this changed your viewing experience, knowing that we got an American number 10 playing for Chelsea?
I honestly went right online and I bought his jersey. I didn't even care. I wasn't even going to reach out to anybody. And I'm no longer with Nike, but this past year was my last year with them. And so I didn't even reach out to my representative. I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm giving them money because I want this so bad. I want it next week. And once he signed, I told Ash, and I was just like, this is so amazing. I can't wait. And I remember posting a story of me wearing his jersey, about to watch the game last year. And he had liked it on Instagram. And I was like, and she goes, oh my God, you're so wild. And I'm like, but this is so amazing. I'm
Allie,
obsessed with
you're
him.
a 2-time world champion. You don't need to be geeking out over Christian Pulisic liking.
I know he's probably going to be so creeped out if he ever hears this, but I just think he's so good. And I'm so proud that, we have an American player who's just thriving and on my favorite team. And it's just so cool. I just really love it. And I don't know. It's awesome to see also a lot of the other younger guys, playing for Juventus and Barcelona and Red Bulls and all these things. So it's been great.
So what do you see from Pulisic? He's taken, several steps forward here as a player. And obviously, as you mentioned, there's this class of young American players coming through on the men's side. This feels like a genuine breakthrough on an individual basis with Christian and as a collective with the men's team. Yeah,
he's been, I think, incredible for Chelsea. I think obviously since the restart, we saw him just his technical ability, the way he can dribble the ball and use both feet and just make it look so seamless. And I'm just so impressed by him, the way he's just in these small little tight spaces and able to get out of them and just create opportunities in front of goal for, not only himself, but the other 5 attacking players. So I think he's been as long as he could stay healthy, unfortunately he's had those, little lingering injuries, hamstring injuries and things like that. But, if he could stay healthy, he's been incredible for them. And then for the U.S. team, obviously it's so inspiring and I think motivates a lot of the other younger kids to want to be at that same level. And you can now see that a lot of them are encouraged to go overseas to really implement themselves in those programs, of the youth clubs and then kind of reaching the first team. And it's kind of cool to see all of them take that challenge and be uncomfortable and put themselves in those situations in order to grow. So it's going to make our national team better. And I just one day just want to see us succeed on the men's side.
Well, a rising tide lifts all boats. I have no doubt that the success the women's program has elevated the men's program too. Everybody wants to be successful under that umbrella, though. The parallels are interesting because if you want to make your club a big deal over in Europe, you sign an American player, whereas Christian I know there were some examples here and there, but Christian signing for Chelsea was such a big club and he succeeded. Now, all of a sudden, there's this really hot run of some of the biggest clubs in the world signing Americans. It's almost as if he's breaking down walls and barriers there.
Absolutely. And you can see the other young kids, having so much success and they're starting. And I'm watching Barcelona and Juventus play and I'm just I can't believe there's 2 Americans playing on the same field, like during a Champions League match. Like, this is insane.
It is crazy. Allie, everyone was paying attention to Ronaldo and Messi, and I'm just like, Des versus McKinney.
I know. It's just so positive for a lot of our young players, and you can take different paths. You don't have to go through, the college route or the professional route or whatever route. It can be kind of your own way. And if you get over there early and you're within that, the system, that's great too. But you can tell that all of these paths that they've taken have been different, and they're all successful. So it should encourage every single young youth player, even on the women's side, to kind of do their own thing and figure it out and make themselves uncomfortable in order to grow and succeed.
I'm curious to know what it's like for you watching Frank Lampard now being manager of Chelsea, given that you have so many great memories as him, as Chelsea's most prolific goal scorer. How do you think the manager is doing? Does it tug at the heartstrings knowing that we have one of our own out there?
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's nice to see that they're investing in, obviously, he's like a hero there and such a legend. So I'm not surprised that he's been doing well. I think he can get the best out of those players, just because you as a player know that when you have a coach who has experienced that level, you kind of have a different perspective and a different relationship with them. Like, he's been there, he's been in their shoes, he's played at the highest level, he's been the hero and the captain of that team, and so he understands. It's hard when you have a coach who has never played at your level and they're trying to, I don't know, it's not hard, don't get me wrong, like, it's fine. It's just kind of a different relationship that you have and an understanding. And so I think that they respect him a little bit more, and the relationship is I think a little bit closer, and the respect is there for everyone, and he knows how to get the best out of those young kids. And I think putting those young kids out there and watching them thrive and giving them an opportunity is great. And you can tell that if you do well, you're going to get those chances, you're going to get that opportunity. It's not just, okay, I'm going to go with the players who, are our most known players and have been here forever, and we're just going to throw them out there. It's like, no, I'm going to actually give these young kids a chance, and they can prove themselves. And then if they do well, they'll continue. So and obviously they're playing so many games. Like, it's really difficult. I can't imagine playing like 3 to 4 games in 1 week. Like, that's just like so crazy. At my age, I'm like, I need like, even playing like a Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday for me is like, it's so difficult. So I can't imagine like him having to navigate that as well and make sure that the personnel is healthy and fit, and you have to like adjust. I mean, it's a lot on him, I'm sure, and I think he's handling it really well.
What was kind of your relationship with him as a player, like from a fan standpoint, like that generation of players, Drogba, Terry, Lampard, all these sensational players? Like, either do you kind of have like a defining player that you really got behind, or even a memory as a fan that you're most kind of attached to?
Yeah, I love Drogba just because we wore the same number, 11, and so I was so attracted to that, and just thought he was one of the best finishers at that time, and was incredible to watch. Just his movement and technical ability was insane. But yeah, no, I loved watching Frank Lampard and how many times he would turn his head and look as he's receiving a ball, and I'm like, okay, I got to implement that. I got to make sure I'm in the right space. He was just kind of just a player who you could always count on, but was always in the right positions at the right time, and was just spraying balls wide. And then he would get up into the attack and just like hit these incredible shots. And Terry, of course, you name the three that are like, incredible players. I learned a lot watching the men's games, so I would watch them really closely. And yeah, now John Terry's at Aston Villa, assistant coach. So it's just cool to see them, in a different light now and impacting in a different way.
Well, Allie, you were, and I'm not saying this, I'm not blowing smoke just because you're in the Zoom. You were always one of my favorite players. I was thrilled to find out that you were actually a Chelsea supporter. But from the bottom of my heart, just as a U.S. soccer fan, thank you so much for what you do on the pitch, but also off the pitch. Your activism, your philanthropy, you're such a role model for everybody. And I know people get that, and it has nothing to do with you being this cagey veteran. Like, you had this platform. You guys were I mean, when you won the World Cup, you were the most famous people in the country, and you use that platform for so much good. It's really impressive, and I can't thank you enough, just as a U.S. soccer fan.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's something that I feel like a big responsibility. I know that it's so great to be in a position to be able to speak for those who, don't have that voice, and who their voice, who don't have a voice that can be heard. And I really feel like that's our responsibility to fight for things that we believe in and really encourage everyone else to do the same and use our platform for good. And also not only our individual platforms, but as a collective group. And then now that group can kind of then use US Soccer's platform and then use our club team's platform and then NWSL as well, just to keep the conversations going. So I think it's really important, and I appreciate you saying that. We continue the fight every day, and I definitely won't stop even after I'm done.
That's great to hear, because even in the moment, you knew how important that team was. And years after, we're going to look back on that team specifically, given everything that was going on in this country. And it's going to be one of those teams that will echo through time, not just because of what they did on the field, but off the field as well. And you were a huge part of that. Allie Krieger, thank you so much for joining us here on Chelsea Mic'd Up. A dream come true. One of my favorite players. And she just so happens to be a Blues supporter.
Yes.
I mean, through and through. Look, not a glory hunter. True blue. Allie, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate you. And thanks for inviting me. And go Blues.